a word of prayer so our Heavenly Father and the Holy Spirit can lead us in the right direction and steer us in the right path so that we do not go off the path that we need to take. What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Father God, as I come to your throne of mercy, Father God, before I come to your throne of mercy, I pray that you cleanse me, wash me thoroughly from the crown of my head to the tip of my toe. Spin me around and place me in solid ground. Father God, if there's anything in my heart, in my mind, in my body, in my soul that will prevent this prayer from answered, Father God, I pray that you cleanse me. Father God, I pray that you wash me. Father God, I am placing this platform in front of you, Father God. I pray that you guide it. I pray that you protect it. I pray, Father God, that you seal it and wrap your protection around it. Seal it with your wings, Father God. Father God, allow it to take greater heights. Father God. Father God, allow that each and every person that is attached to this platform today, when they leave this platform, their spirit will be renewed and they will be enriched in all the information that they will receive. Father God, I pray the speakers speak through the speakers, Father God. Father God, I pray that you guide those speakers in the right way. Father God, I pray that you bless each and every one of them as I pray. Father God, I pray that you continue to bless them, continue to keep them, continue to let your face shine upon them. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you so much, Anthia. We appreciate that. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our very first presenter. And as you all know, the panel is really about, fortifying your immune system naturally. Now, an interesting thing has happened, and we think this is ridiculous. Our first panelist, Tioma Fern, had been planning to speak about some of the Jamaican herbs and some of the remedies that, have been used over the years, over the centuries for, fevers, upper respiratory tract infections and so on. And she, incidentally, came down with the malady and has been unwell for the last couple of weeks. But we thought that was a brilliant opportunity because the same thing that she is going to be talking about or had planned to speak about, he actually used those things, and she wants to share with us today her experience. And so we welcome her this afternoon. She'll start off by introducing herself, and then she'll go straight into her presentation. Now, I am not so, oh, there you are. Okay, let me see if I can spotlight you. Beautiful. Good afternoon, Tioma. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us. Are you able to hear us well? Oh, she's not. You are still muted. Let's see. Okay. Can you go ahead again? Still not hearing. Okay, that should work. Are you hearing us now? And are you? Yes.
Beautiful. There you go. Thank you. All right. Yes, so thank you for that beautiful introduction. I actually adore doulas. I think they're some of the most talented, versatile, creative people on earth. But I'm a midwife. So I've been a midwife now for over 30 years. and done a few thousand births at home, because if, you know, I really believe that that is a healthy and rewarding place to have your baby. So I assist women who want to have their babies at home. I'm also a homeopath and an herbs woman in the grand tradition of my grandmother, who was also an herbs woman and who I've learned so much from through hearing stories about her from my auntie. And I feel that she's a strong spiritual guide to our family even now. And I give thanks for the wonderful prayer that was offered, but I also want to acknowledge the feminine divine, that which balances the masculine, without which there is no creation. We can't just have a man up there. We have to have the woman surrounding us, keeping us, guiding us as our Earth Mother. So I give thanks for her guidance. So I know I was able to send you almost at the end PowerPoint. I'm wondering, were you able to load it?
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Great, great. So whenever you're ready, let me see.
All right. Is everyone seeing my screen?
Yes.
No, not yet.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm seeing a part of it.
Okay.
Part.
Okay.
Seeing it now.
Yeah. I just have to pinch it.
Is that any better?
Yes, that works.
Okay.
All right. All right, everyone. So you have all heard that I've had a COVID journey. And a lot of people have expressed surprise. Well, how could you? Oh, no, could you get sick? Anybody can get sick, people. And I have been listening, tuning in a lot to Dr. Hunter recently, who has been kind enough to share his time, his energy, his expertise in this arena. And one of the things he says is, we're all going to get it eventually. We're probably all going to get it several times. So the most important thing we can do is to prepare ourselves, to prepare our bodies, to prepare our immune systems, to prepare our emotions, because, you know, there's a lot of worry about these things, a lot of, you know, energy surrounding it. And it's something that we all share. And the healthiest way to share it is to get through it, and then have complete natural immunity. That is the kind of immunity that is longer lasting and more powerful than any other. So I'm very grateful that I now have it. So let me tell you a little bit about my COVID journey. And it was indeed a journey. I think we're all, you can flip to the next one. Yeah, I think we all very clear by now that it's a respiratory illness. I don't have to go into how we contract COVID, but we know that it's a disease that travels through the air from one to another. And that the disease in and of itself is not hugely deadly, but because of the ease with which it is spread, it has become quite dangerous for some of us. Okay, so this respiratory disease, I think, you know, I shared this journey with my helper because she came on a Tuesday, and by Friday we were both quite ill. Friday evening into Saturday, we both got quite sick. So I'm not sure if I gave it to her, she gave it to me, or what the line of contagion was. But it started with a pretty terrible fever and headache. So the headache was like this raging, congestive, very fierce headache. I'd say it was a 9 out of 10 on the scale of pain. Just because I don't want to say it, I don't want to claim that 10, but it was pretty terrible. Tossed and turned with that all night. I had a fever of 103 also. And you know, that lasted for a day, but the fever itself lasted for about 5 days, 101, 100 and something, 99. Eventually it simmered down and it disappeared. So when I think about the factors that affect immunity, we know that, you know, our immune system is designed to scout around, and it has quite a few avenues of, you know, consuming, beating back, you know, chemically attacking the microbials that enter our system. Is somebody, can you mute? Because I'm hearing somebody else's discussions. Okay, we can't, can we mute? No, I guess not. All right, so several factors, including sleep, diet, stress, you know, your nutrition, hygiene, all can affect, you know, your immune system performance. So, you know, you may find that when you're under certain stressors, this is the time when your system kicks up and, you know, is not able to, or rather your system actually deteriorates and is not able to defend you from these germs, and you may get sick, you know, and it may be a needed illness. I know for myself, you know, COVID has been a stress for many of us and for many different reasons. And for myself, I found myself getting very caught up in the unfairness, in the criminality of some of these activities and actions by some of our so-called leaders. And I know that, you know, also getting very caught up in listening to social media, finding out what the latest was on COVID, and, you know, who was doing what, where, you know, what different, you know, measures were being imposed upon the people. So I think that all of that, you know, the anxiety, the angst, the anger, the, you know, lack of sleep. And then I had a delivery on the following night, you know, I got sick. So of course, the first thing I did was to go get tested. Although, you know, I literally kind of dragged myself to the car and drove to the testing site. And I came away with a negative test. And I thought, funny, but great. Okay, at least I don't have COVID, and, you know, I haven't risked giving that to anyone. But I still had my doubts. And of course, you know, Dr. Hunter and Dr. White always say, don't watch the test, watch the symptoms. So 5 days later, I thought I was about to travel, and ended up going to for another test, you know, to the testing site, and lo and behold, came back positive. So at that point, you know, I started to do certain things. I had steam anyway, just because, well, in case it's, you know, it is COVID, I need to get a steam in. So I had done a steam or two, but quite honestly, in the first 3 days, I could hardly move. You know, I was sleeping 14 hours, 16 hours. And clearly just my body needed to rest. And it was not a choice. It was just, I got thrown down. So that happened. As I said, you know, the fever was there, no appetite whatsoever. I had, okay, so I think, okay. So I had, again, this fever. So let's go into the fever. So a fever is a controlled rise in core body temperature. For adults, it is 100 degrees and above, you know, because children tend, as we know, to run much hotter than we do when they get a fever. So it's not an illness, but a symptom. And as we'll see, it's a tool whereby the body activates certain mechanisms to fight whatever virus, whatever bacteria, whatever fungus it is that may be attacking us. And a lot of times, as we have said, the only reason we get susceptibility to these things is because we have run ourselves down in one way or another. Right? So elevated temperature and hypothermia are usually caused by infection. They may be created by other means and other agents. So next, the mechanism of fever. So we see that it is quite as a whole cascade.
All right, you can pause. You can't make me watch this. So what I say. There you done your part.
All right. So defining fever. So when we look at the cascade, you know, the mechanism of fever, it's quite a dance. It's an interlocking set of mechanisms whereby fever actually eventually arises, you know, as the final result, when the body knows that it has to go ahead and fight. You can change the next slide. Okay. Yeah, that it has to go ahead and fight whatever this is. I'm afraid this print is a little too fine for me to read, but you can see that there are several mechanisms, interlocking mechanisms by which we are finally exposed to fever. So what did I do about, you know, having this fever and having this terrific headache? I know there's a lot of advice to take Tylenol or to take some other analgesic or antipyretic, which is something that brings your fever down. But I did very little other than obey my body for a few reasons. You could change it to the next slide. Right. So I obeyed my body because I had no choice. It was telling me in no uncertain terms that I needed to sleep, that I did not need to eat, that I was going to have this fever. And I was going to have this headache. But, you know, rather than running for something to kill the fever or to kill the headache, I chose to move through it because I honestly feel that fever is a very powerful tool in our healing and on our journey. I've heard lots of stories from my own auntie about the malarial fevers that they used to suffer repeatedly. And although I'm not, you know, glorifying illness, I still see that, well, they all live to 90s and 104 and not avoiding their fevers, not avoiding their illness, you know, the different aspects of their illness might have had something to do with that. Because we know that fever is a tool. Hyperthermia is actually a tool that is used medicinally. If somebody, for instance, is HIV positive and is suffering various infections, we know that they can be subjected to hyperthermia, you know, very, very hot bath to kill some of the bugs that exist in their body. So I just let the fever do what the fever was meant to do. You know, I might have made a tea of some kind, but I didn't do that. There go the parrots. I didn't do that because I really felt, again, that it was important for me to utilize the fever as a tool for healing. So as I said, the symptoms in the first 5 days were fever, the headache, total lack of appetite for 3 days with very little appetite for the next maybe 2 days thereafter, 2 or 3. Loss of sense of smell, which eventually became apparent. I didn't know that immediately. Complete and utter fling me down in the bed exhaustion, brain fog. This is just as well because it was very draining for me to speak. I also had diarrhea, something else I forgot to add. And so Sorry, people.
Um,
The next,
next.
as I said, yes, next one. Tested, came back negative. So what was I able to do? Walk to the bathroom and back. I did steam once, and by day 4, half a bowl of clear soup could pass my lips, and I could drink some tea in earnest, start to drink my teas. And as I said, I determined it was best to preserve the fever, so I didn't take any antipyretics or analgesics. So fever is actually helpful for immunity. That's why the body creates fever. There are a lot of questions, misconceptions, like, you know, what if you burn up to a crisp? And you're not going to do that unless there's something very strange going on with your body. But of course, if you stay at 100 and 304 for like 3 days, then, you know, clearly, you know, you need to do something about it. But once, you know, your high fever starts to resolve itself, there's no real reason to eliminate it artificially. The misconceptions about fever. Now, the idea about fever is very similar to the idea we have about pain, like get rid of it at all costs. It's a bad thing. You know, it's something to be feared, something to be run away, you know, to be escaped. It obviously, you know, is there for a reason. It has its purpose, as we have said, in the body, and it does burn out not only whatever the primary issue is, you know, primary infective bacteria or virus, but a whole lot of other bacteria and viruses as well. And fever has no lasting adverse effects. Oh, we're on the next slide. We're on the next slide. Paula?
I'm having difficulties for some strange reason.
Okay.
Is this the correct slide? My healers
were? No, you skipped a few.
Okay, we are approaching the 30-minute mark now. So let's see how we can. Would you be able to continue without this slide? I'm so sorry. For some strange reason, it just
well, leave it where it is for now, and I'll try and catch up with you.
Right.
All right. So discussing fever phobia. Fever phobia is an unnatural fear of fever that is excessive and unjustified. So, as I said, you know, it's a very similar approach towards the perception of pain, that it is bad, must be stamped out at all costs. The whole imagery of going to war against something that is actually one of your soldiers, you know, is inappropriate in this case. Instead, we should have an approach of balancing the body so that we engage in effective preventive strategies, understand the good that fever does along with the other body responses, and having the knowledge to curb and control the fever is necessary. This is more useful to us. So other symptoms included extreme dryness of mucous membranes, weakness, congestion, and pain in my sinuses, and expectoration of mucus from my chest and nasally. So it started out yellow on day 6, which is was that real experience for me. I'm not used to seeing anything like that. And at first yellow on day 6 and eventually resolving to clear mucus. But I did have a kind of sinusitis and sinus infection, and I was expectorating also from my chest. So my healers were all the folks that checked in with me, although at times energy was required, the energy that was required to speak also left me. The soup I was finally able to make, the sun. Now the sun, I have to speak on that. And we talk about vitamin D3 being very important. It does basically all the things that the so-called vaccine does, but in a far more able way and a more thorough way, because vitamin D3 is going to reduce your incidence of COVID, reduce your need for hospitalization, and reduce serious illness that you get through COVID. So it naturally does everything that they say the vaccine does. And so the sun was like it was as if I was a solar collector. Going into the sun, I could feel my body immediately start to pick up and improve. And what, you know, if you look back, all right, so the sun was very, very important to my health and healing and energy. Fresh air, breathing exercise is also very important. If we look back at the 1918 flu, we see that at that time, a lot of open air hospitals. In Boston, there was a notable open air hospital that, you know, people actually were able to be healed, and the staff did not pick up COVID as, the 1918 flu, which they call the Spanish flu. It was not Spanish, it was American. They did not pick it up as easily, and they were healed more readily through being in the open air hospitals. And that's really what we need to look into. Water was very, very important. Again, the dryness of my mouth, my mucous membranes made me drink tons and tons of water. I had no choice. And through it all, I just noted that my body was telling me, you know, what to do, was informing me of what I needed. Right. Rest, of course, was very important. Steaming, herbs, and homeopathy. And I steamed with herbs. I also steamed with menthol crystals. I used a very helpful homeopathic remedy as well.
Right. Sister Tioma,
yes.
Because the presentation, the slide was going haywire, I think we actually ran through it. It's now 3:30. So what I'm going to do is promise all the participants that they're going to be able to get the slide presentation.
Okay.
And if there are a few questions, then I'll entertain maybe 3 questions, and then we're going to head on over to our next presenter. But thank you so much.
Can I just finish up very quickly, because
certainly.
Because I didn't even reach the herbs as yet.
Right.
I thought you had said that we were going to be able to speak as long as we needed to.
Right.
So I didn't really tailor it to half an hour. I'm so sorry about that.
Right. I think persons are just wanting to, get to, hear how they can manage it, because I think most people kind of know what's involved in terms of the fevers and so on. So a number of people have messaged me. So yes. Okay.
Oh, all right. Okay.
But let me see if I can get the slide presentation back up so that we can get to the section where the list of herbs, because they were going as you were speaking. So let me see if I can get back again to them.
Right, exactly.
And just about, okay, let's see. The internet is slowing down, so it's not as responsive. And so, it's just not happening. So what I'm going to do is we are going to have everyone reach out to me, and I will share the slide presentation. So you can just run through your list.
I'll do that.
As on the slides.
So particular herbs that I used were, of course, people know about ginger, they know about turmeric, garlic, onions. I also used fever grass and John Charles, so leaves on the stem, trumpet leaves, basil, and jack in a bush, and fever grass. Yeah, I said fever grass already. Those were the major ones. Also, definitely was very much helped by cerasee and by neem, using neem as well, and moringa. So I'll speak a little bit about ginger. So most ginger, turmeric, garlic, onions, all of them are blood thinners. They're all antimicrobial herb, very powerful antimicrobial herbs. They're all stimulants. They're also very, very powerful expectorants. So all of them are really, really powerful in that way. Garlic is antiviral and also antibacterial. It's going to be, it is expectorant. So it's that herb that really opens up the chest and allows all of those mucus secretions to emerge. Onions, which is a cousin of garlic, does the same thing. you know, antimicrobial. It, you know, strips the viral coat from the COVID. It prevents it from entering the cell. It's amazing. And we've heard about onion being tapped on the chest, and onions, you know, wherever you are in the body, they're very penetrating. The same thing with garlic. I know I've given mommies, you know, the garlic instructions of putting the garlic on the soles of the baby's feet, and soon you can smell it coming off of the baby's breath. You know, that's how penetrating it actually is. And so they're all very warming. They all release the mucus. They all fight the virus itself. So they're very helpful to steam with all of that. And if you add some of the menthol crystals, you can feel that penetrate very deeply, you know, into your chest, all the way down in. You can breathe it in through your nose, and it will go up into the sinuses, and of course breathe it through your the breath as well, and it goes all the way down into your chest. John Charles leaves and stem. John Charles is what's known as one of our cold bushes, so it's excellent for colds and flus. It is in the mint family. Its Latin name is Hyptis verticillata. It is particularly useful for deep congestion. So when we have these deep coughs that are, you know, so difficult to bring, the deep mucus is so difficult to bring up, John Charles is very, very helpful. It has a smell of grapefruit and mint together. And I found it very helpful to help as an expectorant. I didn't put thyme here, but thyme leaves are a wonderful expectorant as well. Pregnant women should avoid them because they can, especially if you're late in pregnancy, it can trigger, and you use a lot of it, it can trigger labor, but it's a wonderful expectorant. It also has thyme oil in it, and that is used in Listerine as an antiseptic. So it's a great, if you don't have Listerine, you want to rinse out your mouth, which is another way that you help to reduce your viral load. You can just make a strong thyme tea and use it as a gargle. And you can, again, drink it because it is a great expectorant. Basil is an expectorant, excellent for the chest. It's also very good for the brain because I was suffering from brain fog. And basil was something, again, my body was telling me to just eat. I find that Italian basil is wonderful. You know, it does a lot of the same things that so-called holy basil does. And our own fine leaf basil is also very, very helpful for the chest, expectorant, and very good for the digestion because I did have a feeling of nausea. I used Jack in a Bush, another of our cold bushes. That's expectorant that helps to release mucus. I used cayenne or our bird pepper, which is, you know, I just put in soup. When I was eating soup, I chop up raw garlic and put it in it, chop up raw onions, and also cut up our bird pepper and also our Scotch bonnet pepper. So all of this just created this lovely flow. I'll leave it to your imagination. And that was really, really helpful to cleanse and clear.
Tioma,
yes.
Someone, you have just a few minutes, but someone asked, what are the quantities and can we discuss herbs that should not be mixed together? So everything, you know, that you are discussing can be used
together.
Okay,
it's
beautiful.
All, most of them are kitchen herbs, they're kitchen medicines, you know, or they're common herbs that, you know, you would use as a cold bush. So you don't have to be worried about any toxicity. I did talk about thyme. Again, if you're pregnant, you don't want to be utilizing that. But, you know, you eat your onions, garlic, people, you know, ginger, turmeric. You don't really have to worry, you know, about this. If somebody has advanced liver disease, then maybe they'd have, you know, maybe they would seek guidance when using intense amounts of turmeric. But again, you know, this is all in combination. and you don't really have to worry about overdoing any of it that I can see. So in terms of the amounts, you would use about a tablespoon of the herb, between 1 and 2 tablespoons of the herb per cup. You're making it in medicinal quantities. So, you can make it like that, just make the mix. And I like to drink a cup of the tea and just leave it, let it sit for the day. And at the end of the day, you can actually squeeze out all of those herbs, because you want it, when you want all the goodness of the herbs, you just go ahead and squeeze it out, and you can take another cup, and you can have another cup ready for the morning if you like. Keep it in the fridge.
Okay. All right.
Any more questions?
None so far. What we're going to do, because we want to start moving towards the next presenter, we have Dacia Webley is on the chat. She's collecting all the questions, and she's going to be sharing them with you, Tioma, and we are going to be posting the questions and the answers on our IG page. Okay. So that's what we're going to do.
I want to mention the Tramel site, which is our own Caribbean site, where we post a lot of our information about herbs, a lot of the research about the herbs, and scientists share there freely. And so look up tramel.net, everyon.
I was not aware of that. Thank you for sharing. I was not aware of that.
It's a beautiful site, tramil.net.
And what is it? Is it a Caribbean or global?
It's a Caribbean site, but it's global. These scientists share globally with others, and you can find them recommending papaya leaf as an antiviral. It's a blood thinner. Spanish needle, which is Biden spilosa, very common food herb, wild food that we eat here. It's also a wonderful healing herb. It's antiviral. And guinea hen weed, they talk about those as being important as well. So we have a whole multiplicity of herbs that we could utilize, and we need not to be afraid of them. We pop off, and Tylenol is the biggest cause of acute liver failure in the UK and in the US now. So don't think that, you're taking these like medications and, they're all harmless. Yes. If you take too much of it, they can cause, it reduces your glutathione, which is so important for your immune system. But in addition, it can cause your liver to fail. So we want to try our beautiful herbs, and use our food as our medicine as well.
Right. And this is the last question. The last question, Sister Tioma. Someone says they drink a lot of wine.
Wine?
Yes, wine. Someone here on the chat. And so they wanted to know if wine would interact with some of the herbs that you've spoken about.
Well, I tell you, you can make wine from some of these herbs. If you do insist on drinking wine, then you should try and make your own wine. Because wine is full of it has sulfites, it has a lot of preservatives in it. They don't have to list these things on the label. So just be aware when you're drinking your wine that, there are a lot of additives that are, that can be harmful. And in this COVID time, don't drink a lot of wine.
Okay. Great.
Try to really pull back from that.
Right.
And stay healthy, people.
Thank you so much, Sister Tioma. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get on to our next presenter. But Tioma will be on this presentation right up to the end. And if time will allow us, we will have her available to perhaps address a concern or question. Okay, so thank you so much. That was a brilliant presentation. Everyone in the chat is asking for your presentation. So I've given them your number. So they're going to assault you. But we also will have that, and we will share the link on our IG page. So for those persons who are interested in this presentation, you can either send a text message to me, the same number on the flyer, and I will give you the presentation, or you can reach out to Sister Tioma herself. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Someone said just upload the presentation to the chat. They think that I know how to do that. I'm just joking. I'm going to figure it out before the end of the chat. Okay. Thank you so much. Now
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Yes. Now we're going to move on to Dr. White. Let's see. Dr. Donovan White, are you ready to present?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm here.
Okay, let's see if I can find.
Am I being heard?
Yes, you are being heard. I'm trying to just pin you, spotlight you. So you may go ahead and speak, and I will find you by talking. So you may go ahead, Dr. White.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. And thanks again, Paula, for organizing this forum. And welcome to all those who are listening. And just to tell you a little about myself, I am a medical graduate of the University of the West Indies. And that was years ago, I think a little before most of you were even born. But I have always been inclined to finding natural solutions for the different problems that myself and my patients would have, because I was never very fond of the pharmaceutical solutions. Reason being that, from my experience, the pharmaceutical solutions have yet to prove to me that they can cure any illness. They've only been treating symptoms. So as a result of that, I had to find my own ways of dealing with issues. So today in my presentation, I'm going to just be doing things a little different from what you might be accustomed to. I'm going to be treading on grounds that are very sacred, and I'll be probably touching a lot of tools that are considering themselves extremely scientific, because based on what I've been listening to, I'm very wary and suspicious of the scientific method, because the scientific method, as you have probably observed, has been totally hijacked and has now become a matter of beliefs and not based on truth. My reasoning is based on truth. And the only truth I can speak of is the truth that I have experienced. So although I'm going to speak about the scientific rationale for home remedies, I'm going to speak from a standpoint of truth, as AKA my truth. Now, first of all, why did we even have a need for remedies? Because everybody's talking about what herb to use, what remedy to use, but why do you have a need for remedy? Is it that you want to get well? Or is it that you want to ease your symptoms? Because these are two different things that we need to be sure of what it is that we're trying to achieve. If you just want to ease a symptom, then clearly nature has provided many, many methods of things that you can use to ease any symptom. And once you ease a symptom, a lot of people feel fine. In fact, that is why the pharmaceutical companies have grown so well, because they are busy going against the symptoms that you have. You ever listen to the names of the pharmaceutical products? Most of them are anti-cough, anti-pain, anti-this. So it's always against something that your body is doing. But why would your body be doing this in the first place? And if you really want to get well, that's a question you need to answer. So why did you have the symptoms in the first place? Like Tioma just mentioned some of the symptoms she had when she went through what she referred to as her COVID experience. But why did you have the symptoms? The symptoms basically is the body's way of trying to inform you that something is wrong. The symptom is the body, in fact, not just informing you that something is wrong, but also trying to correct the wrong that was done. So many of the symptoms that we have, we look at them and we call them sickness and disease. Like she explained nicely about the fever. The fever is not your problem. The fever is the body trying to pasteurize itself because it had developed an infection overload and it was trying to get the infections out of the system once the job has been done. So is the fever your enemy? Because once we have the fever, everybody's trying to take something to bring the fever down. That's not the ultimate goal. What you need to do is to find out, so why did you have the fever in the first place? The same thing applies to symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, skin rashes, the whole works, because the body is trying to eliminate something that it did not want in the first place. But we are hell-bent on just stopping what the body was trying to do. And once you have stopped what the body was trying to do, we consider that as success. But if that's all the success you need, then I really don't need to continue the conversation. But I'm interested in people getting well. And in getting well, it means that you need to get to the root cause of the problem. Because if you haven't got an idea what was the cause of the problem, then how can we speak about a cure? So remember that there's no cure without cause. Now, let us go back to what nature has offered us. Nature has blessed us with many solutions to the day-to-day challenges that we have. And if all you want is something to ease a symptom, you can find something out there. Like Tioma just mentioned a lot of things. You're having a cough, you're having a cold, there's always a herb available that can ease those symptoms. But I would love to use the herbs in a deeper sense. Why did you have the cough? Why did you have the cold? Why did you have the symptoms? Why did you have the fever? And when you deal with it at that level, then you need to correct the underlying problem. Now, what we refer to as symptoms, in essence, is the body's, or should I say it's nature's innate wisdom trying to correct an error that we made. So for example, when we put toxic substances in our bodies, and toxic substances really just a nice way of saying when we have poisoned ourselves. Our poison ourselves with a lot of different things. We poison ourselves with the very food choices that we make. We poison ourselves with the things in our environment, including the pesticides, the chemicals, the weedicides, even the radiation. We poison ourselves with even the medicines we take. And not to forget that we poison ourselves with even the very thought processes that we entertain. But basically, anything that goes into your body that makes your body acidic or toxic is going to cause damage to your body. And whenever damage is done, cells are going to die. And the minute cells die, strange things happen. Because when cells die, infections from out of nowhere, infections just appear to get rid of the damaged cells. In fact, that is the role of the infections. I like to put it another way. Infections is literally what the body uses to convert us back to earth when we die. So when you see a lot of infections going on in your system, you need to ask yourself, so what am I doing to create so much dead cell activity in my body? Why there's so much infections going on? But you know, we have been brainwashed again into a method of what I call a germ theory that tells us that germs are outside there trying to attack us. And that the germ comes at us, and what we need to do is to defend ourselves. So we have an army of antibiotics, antivirals, antifungals, etc., etc. And we think that we have solved the problem. But again, let us reason from a standpoint of truth. If there are flies in your house, lots of flies, what is the best solution? Do you just go and get yourself a fly spray and spray the flies? Yes, it works. It works like a charm. You kill a lot of flies. But I promise you, by the following day, you still have a fly problem. But suppose, for example, you went through your house and you cleaned out, you got rid of whatever it is that was attracting the flies. Would you need to kill a single fly? No, you wouldn't. Because the flies are not going to grow unless there's something there that is attracting them. Now, the same thing happens in our bodies. If we weren't creating the toxic damage to our cells to create dead cells, we would never be having an infection problem inside of our bodies. So instead of trying to get another poison to kill the infections that are there, what we need to focus on is how do you clean up your body so that the infections are not living as freely as they, because of poor choices. So in making our choices for using one, we need to decide, do you just want to have an intervention to stop the symptoms, or do you really want to correct the problems? So I mentioned earlier, and toxins can come from many different sources. Now, when the toxins invade the body, but when the toxins get tissue damage, cell death, infections are going to grow as a secondary effect because their role is to clean up the dead cells that have been created. So as I mentioned earlier, the infections never attack anybody. They only grew because they found a receptive host. And the whole idea of talking about contagion and catching this and catching that, it makes us sound like we're just these hapless victims just waiting on any bacteria, virus, or fungus that comes around, and then we're at their mercy. No, we developed almost 100 years of antibacterial therapies. Has that gotten rid of infections? We still have infections. In fact, when we talk about the term variant, it's not new because when we give an antibiotic to kill a germ, what happens is that that germ can actually stop procreating and dies, but invariably it's going to mutate to form another strain that is resistant to the poison that you just used. And I'm sure a lot of women listening can relate to this. How many times have you been to the doctor and he diagnosed you as having a pelvic infection, what we call a PID? You got your antibiotics and say, wow, the pain is gone and I feel so much better. But then within a week, going back to the doctor because now you have a fungal infection. And we give you all kind of stories as to why this is happening. But the fact is that nature has a way of mutating in order to survive. And it happens right throughout all species on planet Earth. It's not just a bacterial thing, it happens to us even as humans. Because without mutation, we would not be able to survive. So as babies were born with so-called good bacteria, then you start to poison the baby with all the kind of formulas and baby foods that you give the baby, then the baby gets sick. And when the baby gets sick, well, now that the baby is sick, let us give the baby some antibiotics. The baby didn't need any antibiotics. What the baby did initially was what? The baby stopped eating because the baby knew that it is the very food that it was getting that was making it sick. So while we as doctors will intervene by doing whatever we wanted to do, and we think that having intervened, we have solved a wonderful problem. But let me just remind you that what we as doctors do is really not solving the problem, but is to entertain the patient while nature takes its course and we do the healing.
I get to charge.
Huh? Well, we charge for the privilege. No, understand therefore that with this in mind, catching is not a passive process. Catching is an active process. If I were to throw a ball at you and you didn't move, would you catch the ball? No. But if you made yourself receptive, that is how you catch something. So the idea of sitting around thinking that you're a hapless victim of circumstances, we need to get over it. We need to understand that the basis of all healing is a principle called purification. Because if you can purify your body temple, then I can promise you that your body temple is holy. Your body temple is the home of the living God. But if your body is full of garbage, full of poisons, then how is it that you expect the living God to be living in that particular kind of environment? So we need to do something about it. So purification is the basis of healing. So in trying to heal your system, my recommendation is about purification. So either if you're choosing to use herbs or what have you, the principle behind it is about purifying the system. Because if you got rid of what was causing the problem, then you no longer have the problem. Now, there are lots of herbs and things that are available for purification. And last week, we were exposed to a list of many herbs, and Tioma added to the list today as well. And the many uses of the herbs that are available. But I'm sure that having listened to those presentations, most of us have been left bewildered, thinking that we need to be or to do extensive studies in plant pharmacology in order to be able to use herbs. Because a lot of my colleagues, it's not that they're against herbs, But after studying pharmacology for so long and studying all of these various drugs, it's almost like impossible to go through to study all of these various herbs again. So we kind of get intimidated and we kind of back off. But nature, fortunately, has provided us with a thing that I refer to as the wisdom of simplicity. And I want you to listen to that carefully. Because when something is, when you're talking about wisdom, if I'm explaining something to you and I really can't explain it, then I would tell you to understand that I don't understand what I'm talking about. Because if I do understand it, it will be simple for me to bring it across. Nature is like that. Everything nature does is about the wisdom of simplicity. Now, a lot of the home remedies are actually foods. In fact, most of them, as far as I'm concerned, are foods. But have you ever taken the time out to consider why is it that the foods come to us with different colors? It's not that nature didn't have anything better to do. But the colors, in fact, are telling a story. Now, the colors represent the many different energies and frequencies that exist in this universe. So if you're eating a meal that literally covers the colors of the rainbow, I can promise you that you'll never know what it is to have a deficiency of anything. Because every energy or frequency is aligned to a particular frequency vibration, which is related to the colors of the rainbow. So in your daily consumption, try to cover your diet so that you have something red, orange, yellow, green, purple. Now, some of the colors you won't really get, but nature again solves the problem because green somehow comes in the middle and there's considerable overlap between them. So if you're considering green stuff, you're literally covering the full energy spectrum. Now, you hear a lot of times we talk about people having green juices and so on. Green juices are excellent, because green juices actually provides the body with a high level of chlorophyll, and the chlorophyll is pretty similar to the pigment in the blood that we call hemoglobin. So by consuming chlorophyll, you're actually building your hemoglobin levels, and not just that, the chlorophyll breaks down to produce oxygen inside your tissues. Now, I can tell you one thing about oxygen. Oxygen in your tissues promotes life. And when there's oxygen in your tissues, infection forms, the low vibratory microbial forms do not live very well in the presence of oxygen. So if you're eating foods that are going to make your body very rich in oxygen, make your body very alkaline, you're already on a very safe footing. So nature provided the foods with colors. Don't forget that. Nature also provided foods in seasons. So there are some times of the year when a particular food is available. That's the time to consume it because the energies of nature are encouraging the production of that particular product, and that's what you need at that particular time. So for example, when it's mango time, eat your mangoes. When it's not mango time, don't tell me that you can get canned mango from somebody else and eating a canned mango. No, you leave the mangoes alone. And then nature has such a wonderful sequence of events because after the mangoes, a lot of us will end up having a lot of worms. Then right after the mango season comes what? Things like the pineapple season. And you'll be amazed to know how wonderful pineapple is to get rid of a lot of those worms and parasites. So if you're literally following nature, you're on a very good footing. Now, the other thing about nature and its simplicity is that it produces products with specific shapes. You ever wonder why a mango shaped that way as opposed to a jackfruit that shapes another way, as opposed to a papaya that shapes another way? The shapes actually are a manifestation of the frequency or the energy vibration of that particular food. So you can compare the foods that you're eating to the organ systems in your body. And by doing that, you'd recognize that there are similarities. So you kind of wonder, so how did the ancients know which herb or which food to eat to help what particular thing? They somehow got wind of this and they refer to it as the doctrine of signatures. In other words, if you are eating, for example, something like a kidney bean, what does a kidney bean shape like? That's why we call it a kidney bean, because it shapes like a kidney. So clearly, a kidney bean would have a frequency or vibration that is similar to what is going on with your kidney. But again, I digress, because the idea of breaking down the body into organ systems and trying to fix organ systems is actually a kind of a decoy. It's a kind of a deception that was produced through the Western medical way of thinking, because we want people to think that healing is not in your domain. Healing is in the domain of the doctor and the pharmaceutical company. So we have again allowed ourselves to be literally at the mercy of these external sources. We start to believe that without the external sources, we cannot function. Nature never made us that way. Nature made us whole and perfect. But as we transgress, as we deviate from what nature gave us to use, things went wrong. Look, for example, at what we've been eating. Nature gave us good natural whole foods, fresh fruits, vegetables, grown provisions, peas, beans, nuts, grains. But how do we eat those foods now? We get them packaged and processed with expiry dates, and we buy them in the supermarket. They have been totally adulterated. And with adulteration, it interferes with all of the energies and the vibrations that you'll be getting from the original product. Look for argument's sake at a product like cornflakes. If what you really wanted to eat was corn, why are you eating cornflakes? Cornflakes was actually corn that was taken. It was dehydrated, denatured, and when they finished with the cornflakes, it literally had absolutely no nutritional value. But the beauty about the cornflakes is that it is not going to spoil, because it's already spoiled. So they're going to sell you this product, and when I'm looking to them, say it really look bad, it really don't have any nutritional value, So let us fortify by adding vitamin D, vitamin C, etc., etc. If you're eating corn, you would need any of those things. You'd have gotten everything exactly how nature planned it, and you would have been way ahead of the game. But they use the concept of processing foods, and we think that because it is processed, we are actually benefiting from this particular way of doing things. Now, the other part about the simplicity of nature is a thing I refer to as energy balancing. When you get sick in your environment, it means that your vibration, your frequency, your energy has changed. And nature does not produce any vacuums. So if your energy and vibration has changed, something in your environment will have to change to compensate for that shift. So many times people tell you that, oh, I have this child and the child started having a seizure. And I'd look at the mother and say, what you could do is to get some spirit weed to give that child for the seizures. And you know what the mother said to me? Doc, the very first day I have the seizure, I saw that thing going up in my yard and I didn't realize what it was. It was spirit weed, because nature is going to create a balance. So the ancients will tell you that healing is always within 100 feet of where you live. In other words, healing is always in your backyard. You don't need to go too far to get it. Now, your energy imbalances influence nature to produce energies in your own sphere to help with the correction of the problem you've been having. Now, I heard the question being asked earlier after Tioma spoke about how do you use these herbs? What is the dosage, etc., etc. But I would love to reassure you that nature was not that complicated. And we need to get away from the thinking that if 1 gram of something is good, then therefore 10 grams is better. That is a thinking that is based on greed and avarice. It is not based on truth. What is important is not the quantity, it's the energy that makes the difference. And people who have studied homeopathy and so on can bear me out on this, in that when we give you a homeopathic dilution of a substance, it is so dilute that many Westerners will say, oh, but there's nothing in this, this is pure water. But yet people are getting results, because it is the energy and the vibration, not the quantity. In fact, the higher the quantity of something that you put in your system, the higher the risk of you poisoning yourself. So will tell you that less is more. Hence the principle of what we call homeopathic dilution. I'm going to take a break at this point because I'm sure there are lots of questions and I'd love to help people to understand what is going on a little bit more. And I know a lot of you would be asking for solutions based on the COVID crisis. And I don't know how much time I have, so I don't know if I'll be able to get into this. So, Madam Host, I don't know, can you guide me where this is concerned?
Okay,
Paulo, I just wanted to jump in quickly. Good evening, everyone. We're asking if you're not a presenter, if you could turn your cameras off as it affects the experience of the Zoom for other persons. Thank you. You may go ahead, Paul. And just to add that we will be sharing the link for the presentations, the contact numbers of the presenters, as well as this presentation on Wellness Experience Jamaica's social media pages. So you don't need to worry about it. They will be there. So you can go ahead, if you're not a presenter, to go ahead and mute and turn off your video.
Thank you, Dacia. So Dr. White, I've been following the chat. Everyone is just excited. So you may go ahead. You'll have another 20 minutes.
I don't know how much?
Whatever amount. Go ahead. I'm watching the time, trying to give everyone about 40 minutes. So you have used up about.
All right. Well, COVID has been in the news a lot. And I'm kind of hesitant as to what comments I make at this juncture, because we know that comments that are not in keep with mainstream media are often blocked, censored, or in one way or the other where they have decided to shut us up. But going back to Tioma's presentation, she said something and I wanted to ask her to respond to it. She had some symptoms at first, flu-like symptoms, which is really the body trying to get rid of something, whatever was going on. And then when she did the testing the first time, she got a negative. But then she started to do what she was doing, and then she went to do the testing a second time, then she got a positive. Did it ever cross your mind that you might have gotten the COVID from the testing? You don't have to answer if you don't want. But it's something that has been crossed my mind, because a lot of people are very suspect about the COVID testing. Number one, the PCR testing, which is what a lot of us are using, was not designed to test the presence or absence of a virus. It was not, that was not the reason it was designed. And the COVID, the PCR testing is a thing that they use cycling to determine what you can pick up. So technically, you can pick up anything that you're looking for, the PCR testing. And if you turn the cycling up, the way we are doing it in Jamaica, our cycling is at 45. Cycling at 10 would probably be more acceptable, but at a cycling of 45, literally, most of the people that you are testing are going to show a positive. And bear in mind that the people who go for testing are the ones who have symptoms anyway. So when they're giving you these daily figures of the positivity rate and all that, you need to bear all of this in mind and don't get scared, because the bottom line behind this COVID experience is to get John public to be afraid. Because when you're afraid, you'll make all the errors in the world. I did not speak earlier about it, but fear in my mind is the greatest toxin to human existence.
Dr. Donovan.
Huh?
Dr. Donovan?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, sorry to interrupt you, but can I have your contact number afterwards, please? I'm like so blessed by your presentation. Thank you.
Yes, we are going to share that. We're going to share it in the chat. So I will share that. I actually did already, so I will share it again.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so as I was saying, fear actually is an expression of ignorance. Fear means that we don't know enough about the subject. And when you don't know enough about the subject, the chances are you're going to make decisions that are erroneous. Now, most of us are making decisions in fear. So, oh, there's a thing called coronavirus. What do you know about the coronavirus? Absolutely nothing. But somebody look at it and say, oh, take this, take that, and we run quickly to take it because of fear. Now, when you make a decision based on fear, chances are it's going to be erroneous. So the chances are your situation is going to be aggravated because of the errors in our thinking. And if we can understand that it is the errors that we make that set us up for the conditions that we are in. So if you're a biblical person, you can understand why the Bible will speak about the wages of sin. Sin is error, you know. Sin is errors in our thinking. And when we make errors in our thinking, there are consequences for the errors that we make. So the greatest thing is to know. When you have knowledge, you can in fact overcome these things. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Nature has the answers. There are people out there with the answers, but be very cautious about those who tell you about who you should listen to and who you shouldn't listen to. Because what gave them that power and authority to be censors for others? Let all the views come out, let all the views contend. You have the ability to reason and to make decisions on your own. All right, going back to the COVID issue. I remember when it just started, somebody was asking me, how do I treat COVID? And I answered the person by saying, I do not treat COVID because I've never seen COVID walking into my office. I see patients come into my office and they'll have symptoms. And whether or not I know that the symptom is COVID, I'm going to treat the person based on the symptoms that they presented with and based on the history that they came to the table with. So I looked at them and I said, one of the first things I would do if somebody came to me with signs of upper respiratory malfunction, the cough, the cold, the stuffiness, the sinus congestion, the fever, the headaches, and all of that, I say, my grandmother's remedy is very simple. I would tell them to steam. And I'd tell them to steam pretty much using the formula that Tioma mentioned earlier. I'll be using things like the garlic, the onion, ginger, turmeric. I'd add like grapefruit to that, the whole grapefruit, including the skin. Could add a little pineapple to that as well. And could add a little Himalayan salt or sea salt to that mixture. Blend it in water, blend it out, put it in water and boil it. And once it comes to the boil and the steam is coming off, take the pot off the stove, put your head over the pot and cover your head and the pot with a towel and open your mouth as you inhale. So you want to inhale all of the vapors. Now, the beauty about that is that the heat from the vapors are going to destroy any kind of microbial forms in the back of the pharynx, in the upper respiratory tract, etc. So heat alone is going to make that. But the other ingredients, the garlic, the onion, the ginger, the turmeric, they are all natural antiseptics. So they'll get rid of infection forms, they'll get rid of bacterial forms, they'll get rid of parasitic forms, they'll get rid of viral forms. So you're already doing that. Now, something I discovered much later was that the use of the grapefruit, when I put the grapefruit into that mix, and I remember I tell you about using grapefruit peel, is that the grapefruit peel, when heated, actually produces hydroxychloroquine, which is one of the drugs that a lot of people are crazy about as a treatment for COVID. So, but nature is giving you all of these things, and it is giving you in the form of a food. So when you do the steaming, my recommendation is that you not only to steam, but drink a little of that mixture, because it's going to help to create a lot of balance in your body. Is there anything else I should say about the COVID issue without getting myself in trouble?
No, I think you know, I think the gem here is the bomb that you just dropped in terms of all of those items that you can cut up and boil and steam with.
It doesn't make sense to me. It will make sense because they're talking about different things.
Right. So so for me, Dr. White, that formula that you just described a while ago, it seems like a universal formula that everyone can use, where you put in the ginger, the garlic. I think I've muted Dr. White by mistake.
Dr. White is muted.
Okay, let's see if I can get him back. Dr. White, you are muted. Can you unmute yourself? I did something wrong.
Am I being heard?
Yes, now you're being heard. I'm the one who did something wrong. Sorry about that. You can go ahead and repeat that formula.
Okay, we're using spices. We're using garlic, onion, ginger, turmeric. We're adding a grapefruit to the mixture, the complete grapefruit, including the peel. We're adding pineapple to the mixture. And we're adding sea salt or Himalayan salt to the mixture as well. You can put all of that in water. You can cut up the pieces or blend them out if you feel like. Put them in water, bring it to the boil, and once it starts to boil, you start steaming. And you steam by putting your head over the pot, covering your head with a towel, so you're forced to rebreathe and inhale the vapors that come out. If you want to, Paul, I can send you the formula as well, so you could add it to the list. List of things that you're going to disperse.
Thank you so much. Right. I am going to lock the meeting now because what I realize is that my internet is becoming unstable. So I'm going to lock the meeting. Are there any questions? Someone asked if we can steam with menthol crystal. And I think that's a question everyone agrees that menthol crystals.
Yeah, but
okay?
menthol crystals are fine. You can add menthol crystals to it. You can also add peppermint to it. You can add rosemary to it. You can add oregano oil to it. Lots of things you can add. But if you don't have it, it's fine. In fact, when I give you that list, you don't have to have everything on the list, you know, there's a lot of overlap. So whatever you have, you put it together and you start with what you have.
Excellent, excellent. Okay.
Can I ask a question here?
Okay, I'm going to allow 2 questions and then we're going to go on to our next presenter. As we asked, you can drop your questions into the chat, but I'm going to allow 2 questions very quickly.
So can I go ahead?
Yes, you may.
All right.
Oh,
okay. All right, go
ahead. Okay.
Paulo,
so is that, yes?
Sorry, I have a suggestion. Because actually I saw a Nadine hand from earlier, and because of the amount of questions, I'm recommending that we put the questions in the chat so that they can be responded to. Even after the session ends, we can, you know, we can deal with all the questions. Because I know that a lot of persons have questions.
Right.
And we don't want to skip anybody, for example.
Right. So
Okay, hello?
Yes, we're hearing you, Dr. White. The question wasn't answered. I think, is it supposed to
May
be
I respond?
Clive? Is it? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Doc. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, each and everyone. My question is, how different is Corona, COVID-19 from pneumonia?
Going in and out. Am I being heard now?
Yes, you are.
Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing
Hello?
you, Clive. I'm hearing you, Clive.
Yes.
Dr. White, are you hearing?
Yes, I'm hearing. The question I'm asking is, how different is COVID-19 from pneumonia? Is there a difference?
Dr. White, the question was, how different is COVID-19 from pneumonia? Is there a difference? Oh, Dr. White is not hearing. Let me see. I may have interfered with something on the setting.
I'm seeing questions, but I'm not sure if I'm being heard.
Okay, so Dr. White, we can hear you now. Can you hear me? No, he's not hearing.
So put it in the chat for him. Put it in the chat.
Okay, so to Dr. White, is there?
Okay, I'm being heard now?
Yes, you are being heard. Can you hear me?
Well, some people are saying anything the host said. All right, let me just add something about the steaming. The steaming can be used as a preventative measure, and it can also be used as a curative measure. So what I recommend is that people do the steaming at least once per week if you don't have any symptoms and if you don't suspect anything untoward going on. But the minute you start to have any symptoms of an upper respiratory tract challenge, I recommend that you do it every day for at least 4 days. And that should also make a big difference.
Excellent. Excellent. So Dr. White, I don't know if you can hear me. Let me put on my...
Internet seems to be
yes.
going in and out.
Right. Dr. White.
Dr. White, can you hear us?
No, it looks as if the internet has gone off or is very unstable. Mine is also saying it's unstable, so that might be another reason.
And just remind persons as well to turn off their cameras so it can assist with the bandwidth issues as well.
Right. So what I'm going to do, because Dr. White cannot hear, I'm going to call him, but I am going to move ahead to our next presentation. I'd love to thank Dr. White for an amazing presentation, very insightful, a little different, and gave us a lot of food for thought. So at this time, I'm going to, because he can't hear, I will call him, but I'd like to just...
Okay, I'm hearing no caller.
Okay, great, because I was just about to move on to the next presenter, but I wanted to just let you know that we really, really appreciated this presentation. Everyone in the chat is very excited about the new insights that you've shared, the food for thought that you've shared. And there are a lot of questions, but we're going to pull the questions together and see if we can WhatsApp them to you. And then maybe perhaps at the end, we will see if we can bring you back to address some of the questions that we find are you know, very interesting, very different than anything you covered. Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. White. We are going to now, yes, we're now going to move on to our next presenter, and that is Mr. Neil Robinson. Neil, are you close by? Yes, he is right here. So let me do this. Let me spotlight you. And spotlight. Okay, Neil, thanks so much for your patience. So for everyone, Neil is the avid fan of plants, and he's been studying Dr. Sebi's work, and he knows all the bushes. So we thought he was a very important person to have on. So Neil, you can introduce yourself further if I have fallen short. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Paula, for inviting me to this forum that you have put together. Really appreciate it, so I can share the awareness of what I have. And also, I'm here to learn. And yes, I've gotten a few insight from our first two presenters as well. But yeah, personally, I am a person that I try to stay, as it were, on the alkaline side of on the acid side. On the alkaline side, it's once you're talking about alkalinity, you're dealing with life. You know, once you get into the acid side and acid chemistry side, talking about
Neil, we can hardly hear you.
I probably need to come a little closer.
Much better. Yes, much better. We don't want to miss anything.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was saying that basically I'm an individual that my way of life is one of alkalinity. I practice just ingesting life into my body, because life promotes life, as it were. And once you ingest something that's of an acid nature, it will present problems in our bodies. So first of all, the topic here is boosting your immune system and using traditional herbs as it were, to help in that manner. But first and foremost, a lot of people, when they mention the immune system, they don't even know what it is really. But immune system, as it's called by medical science, is really the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is what deals with the acid side of chemistry in the body. And it's a system that is often ignored. It's far bigger, it's about 3 times as bigger as the blood vessels in the body, and it runs parallel to every blood vessel in the body, and that's what collects all dead cells, all foreign pathogens, all bad bacterium, and it delivers it to the lymph nodes, and it breaks it down, and you pass it out to your body. But oftentimes the lymphatic system is clogged. A lot of times you don't know. You don't have, I mean, growing up, there's a thing we call wax and canal that we normally have. And that is a sign that your body is actually fighting an infection. So a lot of times, you don't even have to have that symptom to know whether or not the lymphatic system is working properly, because you don't have to have that or anything like that. You can have a fever. Fever is the body's reaction. It's a way to inform wrong in the body. But I don't want to stray too much off point, but the lymphatic system, when you hear mention of the immune system, really talking about the lymphatic system, lymphatic defense system, which breaks down and attacks any foreign body that is not supposed to be in the body. And it is finely tuned to do that very, very, very well. Once your lymphatic system is working properly, it's almost impossible for you to get sick. I myself, during the whole crisis, as it were, I've never gotten sick, have a headache or anything like that, no symptoms, no issues.
Excuse me, Neil. Neil, if you lean forward like this and talk, we can hear you better.
Oh,
so
probably I'm still a bit too far.
So we don't mind looking at your forehead completely or your nose. Just come a little closer.
Okay, but you hear me much better now.
Much better, yeah. So you're closer to the mic.
Okay. Right. So as I was saying, the lymphatic system is called the immune system. So when people hear about the immune system, they're really talking about the lymphatic system. That's what they're really talking about, because that is the system in the body that helps the body to stay in one of the systems that help the body to stay in homeostasis, and it helps get rid of any bad organisms, any foreign pathogen, anything like that out of the body. But first and foremost, the thing that, even though I'm a person that I am an avid user of herbs and I like using herbs, and herbs are very potent, they're very nutrient dense, very mineral dense as well, and help to bring the body back in a state of homeostasis and balance. That is why it's so important and it's so necessary that we have those herbs to use. But I tend to more kind of push the food, because that is one of the major things that causes us to be out of balance, and we're eating a lot of food that we're ingesting a lot of things that we're not supposed to be ingesting any at all. We are ingesting a lot of acid food, a lot of uric acid, a lot of carbonic acid, and a lot of lactic acid in our system. When you introduce the body to any one of these acids, it will definitely play a negative role on the body, on all the systems on the body. It will start to clog, it will start to obstruct. And once that happens, then the body cannot work in tandem. The systems cannot work in balance with each other, because the body is a whole. So whenever we're dealing with anything to heal, you have to do it as a whole. You cannot look at one system and isolate it or anything like that. So the food, first and foremost, is a big issue, because a lot of people don't even know what to put in their mouth, really. Or even know the difference between something that is acid versus something that is alkaline. Or when you talk about alkalinity, you're talking about life, something that is electrical. We have what is known as the pH charge, which is a reading to tell whether a substance is of an acid nature or of an alkaline nature. Let's call it potential hydrogen, or they call it possession of hydrogen, as it were. So the pH charge starts from 0 to 14, with 7 being neutral, and anything above 7 is alkaline or electric, and anything below that is acid. Once something is of an acid nature, in it's further down you go on that chart, the more acid you get. And the more acid stuff you ingest is the more you are getting further from life. So really, our bodies are natural. We are carbon-based. So it behooves us to ingest stuff in our body that is electrical, just like our body. Because without electricity, we cannot have brain function. Without electricity, we cannot have the heartbeat. Without electricity, we cannot have motion. So by nature of that, whatever that we put in our body must sustain life as well. We cannot put death in the body and expect it to promote life. So a lot of the foods that we eat, and that is the main thing when I'm having a discussion with anybody that probably is asking me advice because of my life, my way of life, and what I practice. It's not just the food alone, it's not just the herbs, but even things that I listen to. I mean, music, stuff that I watch, people that I interact with. All of those things can have a negative effect on you. But first and most, common thing that pervades all that everybody has to eat, and that is a big problem. So, I mean, the best thing for us to really consume in terms of food is that if we can stay away from all the processed food, which I know because of convenience, it's a big challenge for us to do so. And we have got accustomed to a lot of processed food in the supermarket. And once something is processed, I mean, it has to have preservative in there to give it a long shelf life. And when you ingest that, you definitely will have problems, because that is seen by your body as a foreign substance, a foreign agent. And once that happens, and a constant and continuous ingestion of those things will definitely start to cause problems. So a lot of times when somebody have like an issue, and I mean, they seek my advice, which I am grateful for. And I'm always grateful to share my awareness and my knowledge that has been given to me by the Creator. I can give nobody else who knows. I need no one else. Thanks for that. First, I'm going to ask him, what is your diet like? What have you been eating? And most of the times, without them even saying what they're eating, I could tell them what they're ingesting, why it is causing the issues that they're having. And most of the time, there's a lot of lactic acids, a lot of dairy products. Even the yogurts, the milk, the cheese, the butter, the ice cream, stuff like that. And then we go to the biggest one of all is the uric acid, which a lot of people kind of have an issue with, because we are addicted to eating meat. But that be, and even fish as well, because some people say, even fish, I say, yes, fish is still flesh, and fish is very toxic as well, because they live in the ocean where they dump a lot of toxic stuff where they don't want to dump, they just want to get rid of. And the fish swim with its mouth open all day, so it ingests all of these things, and these things get into the meat, these things get into the blood of the fish. And you ingest that is going to be a part of your system, that is going to be a part of your DNA, just like if you eat chicken, or if you eat the beef, or if you eat the goat, or the pork, which is very dangerous. Just they're all very detrimental to the body. So all that is uric acid. So a lot of times we have these issues, and a lot of people want to just use the herbs to blanket the situation, and not knowing that what they're continuously eating is really the thing that is causing the problems. or even things that you listen to and people that you're around. But the biggest factor is what you put in our bodies, because what you put in your body is fuel for your body to make your body function properly, so you can carry out all your daily routine, so you can think properly, and so you can live out this reality that we're in, and be healthy. But because we have been conditioned to think that as we're given these foods to eat and we're told that they are good for us, from we're entering school, they have the pyramid chart where, I mean, they give you all of the different things that you should eat. But the thing is that everybody's following that, and most people are following that. And I mean, sickness is running rampant. So there's definitely something wrong. So if we go back to nature and go back to the natural way, as it were, because we are natural ourselves. So whatever we're putting in our body must be of the same substance. So foods that you can really eat, if you can steer from the acids, so steer from all those of the carbonic acid, which is a lot of the grains, even a lot of the foods that we're eating are hybrid, which we don't even know that they are hybrid. And once it's hybridized by man, definitely it's an acid substance. It's not electrical. Only things that are electrical are the things that are made by the creating force, some call it the creating force, God, or that create the heavens and the earth and all life in it. That anything that is created by the Creator for our longevity, for our health, to maximize our health, those things are all electrical, just like we are electrical, and they are made up the same way that we are made up, in terms of they are from the earth, so are we. So the same minerals that you find in the earth, same minerals you find in the body. And there's a plant that represents every mineral in the earth. So if you should have any issues, like for instance with the blood, a lot of times people say about them, or you go to the doctor, say you're anemic or you have low blood count or stuff like that. Instead of taking the iron, which is the ferrous phosphate that they usually buy and get, which is an oxide form of iron that will bind you up. But if you take the iron that was made by, some people say nature, I say made by the Creator, that can never bind you any at all. And you get chemical affinity from that, because that plant convert the oxide mineral from the earth, as the minerals express itself in two ways in the earth. Is the oxide form in the earth is a rock, and the phosphate form, which is converted by that natural plant by way of iontrophoresis, is what they give it the name. Science give it the name iontrophoresis. That's a conversion from oxide form to phosphate form, which is the pre-digested liquid form. So when we ingest that plant or that fruit, we get chemical affinity, and that mineral gets utilized by our body as it ought to. Whenever you ingest anything in the oxide form, it's definitely going to bind you up. It's definitely going to cause problems, because the body doesn't recognize that as the form that it should be, the form that it can utilize. So it behooves us to try and seek out these things. And with information around, so there's so many information out there. There's a lot of people saying what I'm saying. A lot of people that are very knowledgeable in this area that are saying, a lot of them, not just and I mean, I give kudos and I give a lot of respect to Dr. CB as one of the greats that has paved the way for us to be aware and understand that herbs have a very, very vital role to play in healing and in prevention as well, keeping us and sustaining us throughout our daily lives, so that we can live to our optimal and not wake up feeling groggy and feeling lack of energy and all of that throughout the day. Not only does Dr. say what his wife, Ma'a, because she's the one that I really started to listen to first, and then I got on to Dr. C. And Dr. Lila Africa. I don't know if many people have heard of that, heard of him. If you're into herbs and into the natural healing, you probably have heard of Dr. Lila Africa. Even as far back as this German gentleman by the name of Arnold Ehret. He basically was on the same track as well. So I listen to a lot of people, and I seek truth. I seek truth. And that's what I really seek to find. And it can be from anybody, because I have learned to listen, because everybody has a contribution. When you get the information is very, building block of our existence. So basically, I was saying the food is really the thing that will really and truly sustain us. And one of the best thing anyone can use to really sustain and keep you energized is fruits and natural vegetation, especially the fruits, because the fruits are readily available, and the fruits, the energy in the fruits is very, 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 very high. Very, very high. So fruits, and we have an abundance of it here in Jamaica. Not just Jamaica alone. I mean, in this region, Central America, Latin America, even North America, there's a lot of fruits. There are a lot of fruits that we can choose from. But there are also unnatural fruits that have been hybridized. A lot of them don't have any seeds. So I'd say to anyone that avoid anything that doesn't have any seed. No seedless grape, no seedless watermelon, just no seedless anything at all, because that is a hybrid. Once you put a hybrid in your body, that is basically carbonic acid, and anything that's of acid nature that you put in your body will result in adverse reaction from your body, because your body doesn't recognize that as being something of use to it. So fruits are very, 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 very important, and they have a lot of energy to it, because even with me, myself, and how I practice, I eat most of fruits, and most of my diet is like 80% raw and 20% cooked, because I do cook, and I love cooking, and I love to eat, but I don't eat as much as I used to, because I don't get hungry as I used to be, and I have a lot of energy. I don't get any sniffles, I don't have any pain, I don't get no headache or anything like that, because I try to keep the avenues of elimination flowing and keep them open. And that's, I mean, your skin is one of them. I mean, your kidneys is one of them. And kidneys filtration is extremely, extremely, extremely important, because that is the avenue by which your lymphatic system flushes out all the toxins and everything that is broken down to a micro level. So the kidneys need to be free and clear and open at all times. And also the gut area, I mean, the colon needs to be free and open, because the colon is the system that relieves the body of the macro metabolic waste, the bigger particles, you flush it also. A lot of times people even having headache and not realizing that's not really in the head, it's really in the gut, because everything really starts in the gut, because whatever you put in your mouth that you ingest, that is of an acid nature. And it start to clog, it start to stagnate, and it start to cause obstruction, which will definitely pose problems in your body. So you can keep the systems of elimination open, keep your kidneys open, keep your colon open, and keep the lymphatic system moving. And there are herbs to do all that, and also food. So the herbs and the food will work in conjunction and in unison with each other to give you, that optimal energy and healing that you're really looking for, and continuous healing, because the body is what really heals itself. The food and the herbs are just there to help to put the body in a state of balance so it can heal itself. And once you put something natural in your body, then definitely the body is what go ahead and do the rest of the work, because the body was formed and made that intelligent, because it's not made to be, the body's not made to be sick. It's violation why we really get sick. I mean, I know there are environmental toxins that we have to deal with. I mean, pesticides and fungicides and herbicides, and even the stuff that they spray in the community saying that they're killing mosquitoes. A lot of things like chemtrailing, and anybody might know of or hear of chemtrailing. All of those stuff really contribute, but those are external factors. But still, the body can break down and remove anything from it if we keep it clean, if we keep the channels of elimination open, and the body can do all of that with no problem. It's no rocket science. It's not hard for us to achieve that any at all. So there's no, as a good doctor was saying earlier on, there's no need to be afraid, really and truly. There's no need, it's not rocket science. It's just that we just need to stop, and we just need to get back to, the natural way of doing things, instead of thinking that we have to and we must rely upon medical science in order to cure, as it were, because that's their word. Cure is a word for medical science. Herbs and food don't cure. Herbs and food heal, revitalize, re-energize, cleanse, and help to keep the body in a state of balance so it can protect itself. Because the body can protect itself from anything. Once the immune system that they call it is healthy and moving, it's virtually impossible for you to get sick any at all.
So Neil, great presentation, and a lot of people are asking questions. Some people were asking what kind of fruits, because some fruits are acidic and some are alkaline. So if you could down some of those alkaline ones,
I'll do that quickly.
And then the herbs, because a lot of people here know about the herbs, but they've never seen them, and sometimes, and we know that you're the expert in some of those herbs, so you can maybe quickly run through them, and then
I'll quickly run through. What I do, I can quickly run through the fruits. Because a lot of fruits that we even consider to be acid, as it were, they're very alkaline. They're very alkaline fruit because we probably think we associate sour with being acid, but really and truly is very alkaline. It's a very alkaline fruit. Even the key lime. The key lime is a very, very alkaline fruit. A very, very alkaline fruit. And when it goes in the body and the body breaks it down and it's digested and absorbed, what is left behind is an alkaline ash, is an alkaline substance. So key lime water is very good to drink in the morning because that helps to really boost. It's a blood cleanser. It's really helped to boost the lymphatic system and cleanse the lymphatic system as well. I prefer to use the lymphatic system instead of use the immune system. So people can readily relate, and that's something they can look up to because information like that is really readily available online. So key lime water is very good to drink in the morning. You can drink that every morning, key lime water. Some people will drink lemon. They can drink lemon too, but I prefer to drink the key lime. The key lime for me is more natural. You can eat melons. Melons are excellent to eat, but the thing with melons, especially watermelon, it digests very, very, very quickly. It's like about 15 to 20 minutes. So you don't want to be eating like the watermelon, or you probably eat some bananas or eat another fruit, or probably a star apple or something like that, or apple. And then because the watermelon breaks down so fast, and our digestion goes through fermentation, then the watermelon ferment quick and turn into alcohol. And that is how the nutrients get to penetrate the cells and get into the cells. So that can turn into alcohol. Yeah, probably never drunk in anything alcohol a day in your life, and you end up with fatty liver, all because of probably mixing the fruit wrong. So melons, I would say melons, you should eat melons by themselves, and you can wait like 45 minutes, an hour after, and then you eat other fruits. So like melons, your berries, and other fruits are excellent. Seeded grapes. We have mangoes. We are blessed here in this part of the earth with a myriad of fruits, a whole lot of fruits that some are spoken of, some are not spoken of. We have a lot of them. We have the soursop, which is excellent. Most people take it and make juice, but they can't eat it. We have neeseberry, we have guineps, we have star fruits, we have June plum, we have regular plums, we have cherries. There's a lot of fruits. So fruits is very good. It's excellent. And what the fruits have, a lot of these fruits have high water content. So what it actually, that is H3O2, which is far more hydrating than water. So if you don't want to eat it, you can drink it. You can mix smoothies with it, you can juice these fruits and you can drink it because that's H3O2. Very hydrating for the body. So it hydrates the cells and also it cleanses at the same time. So, and it gives the cells a lot of oxygen. So fruits is very good to eat. Fruits all day. That's what I eat most days because I don't eat out because the kind of how the food that I eat, I can't find it prepared anywhere. So I just eat fruits. And then when I get home, then I will prepare something to eat. I'll have a salad. And I will cook probably like some quinoa, which is a very healthy grain. Quinoa, I would do chickpea, but you know, when you're using the chickpea, you sprout the chickpea, or what they call sprout, it's the fancy name for it now, but our grandparents usually call it soak the chickpea for a day or two, then you can use it. Well, that's it for really food. There are other grains that you can use, like I mentioned quinoa, you have spelt. It's a flour that you can use instead of using the bleach flour, the wheat, which is a hybrid. Stuff that it can produce in your body. So you can use like spelt, you can use amaranth, which is, by the way, colorless seed. Although it sounds fancy, but the colorless seed, you can use as a grain. You can cook it like rice. Quinoa, you can cook substitute that for rice. Rice has carbonic acid and cyanide in it. It's not good for you any at all. I know it's a staple for most of us, but that is very, very, very acid to the body. So you have green quinoa that you can eat. You have chickpea, which is the only pea that I would really recommend, because most of the other peas, almost all the other peas are hybridized anyway. They're all hybrids. You have like kamut, you have like teff. There's a lot of grains out there, and I can provide the names of for you, and I could pass it on to Paula, and she can put it up on the website. You can have that information readily available. A lot of people probably have heard of spelt, probably have heard of quinoa.
What's the
all right? In terms of the herb.
Paula, Neil is muted.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute him.
You can hear me now? I just
yes, you can.
Right, yeah.
Yes, I muted all, and I think I blanked it.
Okay, no problem. And with the herbs now, with the herbs, we have a myriad of herbs in our midst. We have so many herbs that Jamaica containing over 60%. No, I mean it's over 80%, which I'm not surprised. I know the number is far higher than that because we have a whole lot of herbs here, a lot of herbs. Even a lot of the herbs that I hear Dr. David talk about, which I learned an enormous amount from him. A lot of the herbs that I hear him speak about that I thought only grew in like Central and South America actually grow here. A lot of the herbs grow here, and they're well within our midst. I will pass them every day, just that because of lack of knowledge and awareness that we don't know these herbs, because everything looks green, but I guess that is the way it is to the untrained eye and the untrained mind. Yes, everything looks green, but there's a lot of herbs in our midst, a whole lot of herbs that we can use. So from herbs dealing with pain, to dealing with cleansing the bowels, cleansing the lymphatic system, cleansing the kidneys so it can be open for filtration at all times, because you always want to keep the kidneys open for filtration. So whatever is picked up by the lymphatic system, or whatever is dumped off the lymphatic system, it will be processed and passed out the body, can pass out through the kidneys. Because if the kidney is not filtering, then you can have problems. So you always want to keep the elimination, the path of elimination open. The skin, keeping the skin so you can sweat. It's always good to like go in a sauna. So if the kidney is not functioning, you can go into a sauna and sweat so you can get rid of the toxins out. You can urinate it out, or you can, defecate it out. So you have to keep the whole address. And that is why it's important to also eat the right food, because the proper food will automatically do all of these things. And I mean, we have to stay being on the earth, because the system that we live in is very, very, very toxic. So the herbs are also there because they are very, very powerful means of really addressing a lot of issues where that we are faced with. So the herbs are something that I would advise you to stay. There are herbs that you can drink every day. We have cerasee, that a lot of people know. We have soursop leaf, which is a very good, very good blood cleanser, and also good for the nerves, calm your nerves, help with if you have a problem with sleeping. We have a lot of people might have passion vine at home. Actually, the blooms of the passion vine that can be nerves as well. I help with sleep. You can mix it with the soursop leaf, and you can mix herbs together. No need to be afraid. So I say once it's an alkaline herb, there's no need to be afraid that you're going to probably. A lot of people consider that you might poison yourself. No, I've never heard of herbs really poisoning anybody before, but there are some herbs that are very potent that you don't need to use a lot of, and you don't need to use it for a long time. Depends on what the condition is or what you want to use it for. So what I can do now, Paul, I can run into just showing a few herbs that we have in our midst that we can use day to day.
Yes.
That some of them I've heard them mention like Guinean weed. I don't know if most of you might know what Guinean weed look like. Let me see if I can go to share screen.
Because
not able to share.
Oh, let me just make sure that you can.
You don't have to share it. Just flip the screen. Just don't share it. Just flip it. You're already on screen, so just flip your camera lens.
No, he learned how to do the sharing, so we don't want to teach him a new way right now. The practice he got was with sharing, so work with the one that you know, Neil.
I need to learn that flip screen.
Yeah, work with the one that you know.
No, but that will, the share will give him the access to it, so that's good.
Oh, a share screen. Okay, I'm clicking on the share screen, but it's saying host.
Okay, so there's something that I have to do. All right, so let's see. One participant can share multiple advanced sharing options. Okay, I see. All participants. Okay, you can go ahead now.
Can go ahead now. All right. So I'm just going to show a few herbs. Some that we know, some that we pass every day, and all
right. Now you.
Okay. All right. So yeah. I am going to just share a few you guys. All right, now this herb, a lot of people, yes, I call it bush. You can see it. I kind of tapped on it to get a little bigger one.
Yes. Wow.
All right, everybody can see that herb?
Yes.
Yes, Neil, I'm seeing it very clear.
All right, yeah, man. This herb is something that it's actually a fern. It is very, very well known. Very, very well known, even by medical science as well. I think in Europe, this is something that you can actually get prescribed to use, because this herb is known as chancapeja. That's a Spanish name for it. And the Spanish name is, this chancapeja is really translated to stonebreaker. The first time I was introduced to this herb is by a co-worker of mine that used to eliminate kidney stone. That's that is what it's known for. It's very, very potent in removing kidney stone, gallbladder stone. Actually breaks it up, and you pass it out through your urine. So it's very, very potent. And it's also very good for the lymphatic system as well. It removes blockages, it removes obstructions. So this is a very, 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 it's also a blood cleanser. It also helps with anemia, and it's a pain reliever as well. So it's analgesic, as scientific numbers. It's a very good pain reliever as well. So that's a very, very good herb. This is a herb that a lot of people have growing in the yard, and you see it by the embankments on the roadside, and you pass it and you don't give it any really thought. But chancapeja is just one name. It also goes by seed on the leaf. Naturally, as you see it in the picture, the seed is literally under the leaf. And it looks like a little miniature tamarind tree, because the leaves shape the same way. Or they call it gale of the wind in like Eastern Caribbean islands. So this is one herb that is very, very potent that we have in to help with a lot of maladies. You can really use these herbs. All right, this is another herb that first time I ever heard of this herb was from Dr. Sebi in a few of his lectures. Kalawala. It's actually a fern. It's a very small fern. It's also known as a leatherback. You really find it mostly. You're not going to find it in the cities. You really find it in the mountains. You have to go way up in the mountains to really find this herb. But this herb is extremely potent, extremely powerful. Very, very potent herb. Very, very powerful herb. If you have any issues with the lymphatic system, if you have any skin issues, this herb have so many uses. There are a lot of uses. You can have it by itself, or you can have it in combination with other herbs. You can put it together like herbs like sarsaparilla that everybody know. Or you can have it by itself. It is a very nice smelling herb as well when it is dried. It's actually have a vanilla scent, and this is another herb that we really have in our midst that we have in our plethora of herbs here that we can really use. A very, 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 very potent herb. Also good for the central nervous system, as it were. As I said, these herbs have many use. Another very, very potent herb that we have in our midst. This is another one. I'm just kind of running through them quickly. I can give the information, but this is another one that a lot of us are aware of. A lot of us used to play with it as a child growing up. It doesn't just grow here in Jamaica. It grows a lot in this region, Central and South America, even in North America as well. They call it. It goes by many names. We call it here Shema Maka, or we call it Shemole, because when you touch it close up, call it sensitive plant, or they call it sensitiva in Spanish. And this herb is very, very potent as well. It's another herb that a lot of people chop down and chop it out and call it weed, but it's a very, very potent herb if you have issues with arthritis. If it's a herb that is known and is documented to regenerate the sciatic nerve. As you touch it, it's alive. It's a herb that's very alive. It is very good for the central nervous system. It really boosts the central nervous system. It's very good for, as it were, the immune system, which I call the lymphatic system, really. So these herbs help to move and cleanse. These are really cleanse and purge. And it's a herb you can have every day. And another information with this herb is one of the most potent herb for anything to do with the prostate glands. In males, very, very potent, very, very, very potent in removing inflammation from the prostate glands. But even though I talk about herbs a lot, first and foremost is really the food. It's really the food. So we really have to be careful of what we eat, because it don't make sense we want to take the herbs and continue the lifestyle that we're living in terms of just eating what we want to eat and think that it's going to fix it. It's not going to fix it. We have to really change and make an effort to change our diet. And sometimes, most of the time, just by changing the diet alone, most of these symptoms, all these symptoms dissipate and go away just by changing the diet alone and get our minds out of the state of convenience and thinking that we'll have to eat something that is packaged. We have to eat the supermarket stuff, and we have to get ourselves out of the state of convenience. Totally.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
I've heard about Dr. Sebi's diet. I think I discovered it sometime this year. There's a lady that normally sells Julie and East Indian mangoes in her car. And one day I was buying the mangoes from her, and the topic of market and prices came up, and we were discussing this and that, and eventually it went to a place where somehow pineapple came up in the conversation. And she was telling me how pineapple is acidic, it's not good for you. Lemon is acidic. When you eat lemon, it doesn't change to alkaline, like how some people believe, this and that. And she mentioned Dr. Sebi. And anyways, long story short, I did my research, some research into his philosophy. And the question I have is it that you're saying if you're not following Dr. Sebi's alkaline diet, which, by the way, I've heard many people who have been following him from when he was alive, a lot of these people say that the list has changed, as in the foods that they're including in the list or excluding from the list now, it's not the same list that he had put out when he was alive. So that's one topic of debate. But generally speaking, I find that his list is very limited, so to speak. The list of alkaline foods is a very small list. I was very surprised when I read the list. I was like, wait, where's everything else? So my question is it sufficient if someone combines his philosophy, that is, try to include some of the more alkaline foods at every meal? Is it a case where if you don't go fully Dr. Sebi alkaline, like you won't get any benefit? Because really and truly, I don't know about others, but some of the foods on this list are not accessible to me, personally speaking. And I am a vegan, whole foods, like I'm into this. I don't eat meat, I don't eat dairy, I don't eat this and that. But when I heard stuff like pineapple is acidic, the only chickpeas, and for me as a vegan person, right, I find my variety in the different kind of peas. So if you now tell me that I have to eat chickpeas day and night, 24/7, 365, and none of the other peas are, you know, they're acidic, so I should avoid them. That makes my already complicated vegan gluten-free life extremely more complicated. So I want to know, is it sufficient or is it okay to basically try to eat some of the more alkaline foods and still, you know, include other, you know, foods that are not on the list, basically?
That's an excellent question. And based on time limits, that will be the last question. So Neil, help us with this one. Very good question.
Okay, well, bits some of what she was saying, I didn't get because it chipped out. But for the first part of what you're saying, no, Dr. Sebi.
Neil, can I just interject? The question she's really asking is, she believes that the list is limited, and she is asking if it's okay to mix alkaline with acidic plants. That's what she's really asking. If she has to go 100% alkaline. That's the real question she's asking.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I got that from what she was saying. But I wanted to just give a quick side note in terms of Dr. Sebi. No, Dr. Sebi's list is not a complete list, and yes, it is, as a lot of people saying, is limited. But if a lot of people were listening to, first of all, yes, I do follow a lot of his teaching because it's very good foundational teaching, but a lot of people, I don't think they listened to him totally when he was alive. His list is not a comprehensive list, and he has always said that the list that he put together is just a list that of things that would least detrimental to our system. There's a lot of fruits and stuff that he always said that he doesn't know. There's a lot of fruits in this part of the world that is not on the list. So that I was saying, there's a lot of greens that's not on the list, and that wasn't on the list. And I understand the whole changes with the list and everything, but I am a person that really goes for truth, and I draw information from a lot of areas, not just from Dr. Sebi. I draw information from a lot of other people. Once it's truth and once it's in line with nature and balance and in line with the cosmic arrangement as the creator set it out to be, then yeah, I'll always listen. But there are, yeah, I mean, alkaline is just the way to go, electric. And don't feel that you're limited, because there's a lot you can mix and match a lot of your foods. There's a lot of grains that you can eat. There's a lot of fruits here that is not spoken of. June plum is not on the list. Thinking too, which we have here a lot in Jamaica, that people frown on because of the smell, is not on the list. A lot of plums that we have is not on. Rose apple that we have out here that grows a lot in the country areas by the rivers is not on the list. There's a lot of stuff that's not on the list that you can partake of. And even with the whole thing with pineapples, when enough, a lot of they're mixed information on pineapples, and there are studies that come out that says pineapple is really alkaline. It's one of the citric fruits, and people have used it to really heal. I personally, I don't partake of pineapple that much, even long before I was aware of the information that I had, just because I don't like the itchy feeling when I get in my mouth and I eat it. So, but other than that, there's a lot of fruits, a lot of citric fruit that we have. We have key limes. Key limes are very good. As I said before, and the lemons are good. But in terms of mixing acid, I wouldn't suggest you mix acid food with alkaline food. And in terms of, there's a lot of people that can attest to it, that it might seem limited at first, but there's a whole lot of things that you can do with a plant-based diet. A lot of things that you can do with a plant-based diet. A lot of mixing and matching you can do, really. And you even can include aquatic herbs that I did not even mention. That's like sea moss, Irish moss, kelp, wakame, hejiki, nori. Those fruits are mineral dense, have a lot of minerals in it, and it's extremely good for your body. So in terms of, I understand what you're saying, but the mindset has to change as well, and that you can't eat we shouldn't just eat, and I'm speaking for myself, we shouldn't just eat just for taste alone, but also the nutritional value that will help to sustain and keep our body functioning properly, keep our what they call the immune system, I call it the lymphatic defense system, up in optimal function, so your body can defend itself from any pathogen, from any foreign body, from any foreign matter that might intrude, and keep your body in a state of balance. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I think it's a good answer.
Right. Neil, can I also just add something? We want to ensure that we cover the herbs that assist with respiratory issues, and suggestions that you would make for herbs if someone contracts the virus, like I reached out to you, for some information. Those are the things you can also share. Okay. I just wanted to add something.
I'm just want to name them.
Okay. All right. I just want to also add something as it relates to the alkaline diet. It's a new journey. So initially, when you look at the guide, and I can speak for myself, when you look at the guide, it seems as though it's limited. But as you continue your journey and you come across other persons that are eating the same way, you will also come across new stuff that's not on the list. And you will also, it's really just being creative in terms of your dishes and all of that. I can say that it's an exciting journey. I can speak for myself. One more thing, Neil, the detoxing and the fasting, please to touch on that as well. All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Guys, we have just about 5 minutes, so no more interruption. Neil, you can just run straight through, and we'll definitely have the recording, so everyone will be able to get this information.
The fasting, something that I can touch on is fasting. Okay, so I can go ahead?
Yes, you can.
Okay. All right. Fasting is something that is excellent for the body. You have to strengthen the body. So you have to put the body in a state of heightened defense, being that your body starts to scavenge and really break up a lot of granulation and really start to to heal itself by fasting, because the body doesn't have to break down anything that you're constantly putting there. So one of the ways that you can do fasting, if you have time, you can do like a 3 or 4 hours a day fasting if you don't have to go to a 9 to 5 every day. But what you can practice, which really work and help with a lot of people that I always suggest, is do intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is basically like in the night, say Monday night, you go home, you don't eat anything. You probably eat your last meal at 8 o'clock, and you don't eat again until the following day, until after midday. So that's intermittent fasting. If you do have to eat anything, let it be a fruit. Let it be a fruit of higher water content if you have to put something in your mouth before then. But you can practice that, and you find that that is something that it just become a norm for you to practice, not constantly eating, and so constantly not get your system don't get a rest. You constantly have to be processing. So that's a very good way as well to strengthen your body and really strengthen the lymphatic system, and also to flush things out of the body through fasting. You don't have to do a dry fast. You can drink water in the midst. You can drink coconut water. If you do, you can eat like a one fruit. Mostly fruits have high water content, I would suggest. And then after midday, then you eat up. About like 5, 6 o'clock, you can eat. The highest, the most, your body digestive system is most active around about like in like 3, 4 o'clock them times. But yeah, that's a good way. And in terms of fasting, you can do intermittent fast. That's very good. The other thing now is that the herbs that you can use for respiratory issues. We have herbs here that we can use. We have leaf of life is one popular herb, very, very popular herb that we can use for respiratory issues here. We have the West Indian elm, which is also called the basida bark. That is a bass cedar, it's an elm tree. We can use that as well. That is not readily available, but it grows all over the place. It goes all over the place. That's very good for any respiratory issues. We have the blue vervain, which is very good for respiratory issues. A lot of people have blue vervain growing in the yards as probably a hedging or a decoration, but it's a very potent herb for any respiratory. It's a herb that's also is a very good kidney herb, as well as a very good liver tonic as well. For those are herbs, are some of the herbs that we can find in our midst that we can really use, that's off at the top of my head readily, that we can really use, that a lot of people leave a life in the yard. And if you don't have it in the yard, you have a neighbor that have it, or you might drive go somewhere and see it and you have it. So those are 2 herbs that we can use. And if you want to go and buy them from the herb store, in the herb store, then herbs that you can really go is mullein. Mullein is a very, very potent and powerful herb for respiratory issues. You can buy elderberry and the elderflower, which is the flower of the same elderberry plant. Is very, very potent and very good for any respiratory issues as well. Red clover as well as another one. And we have growth here a lot in the mountains. So white clover has similar properties to red clover. And just the same that you can also use for respiratory issues. And those also break up a lot of agglomeration and diuretics. So they help to keep the kidneys open so you can pass out the metabolic waste that is out of the system. So once you can keep those avenues of elimination clean and constantly in motion and moving, then it's virtually hard for you to get sick. But the key thing is to watch what we put in our bodies. Stay away from the carbonic acid, which is all this flour and leaf flour and a lot of the food that we grow up.
Baked goods, yes.
Stay away from the processed sugar, brown sugar and all these things. Use dates. Dates you can get. A lot of supermarkets sell dates now. You can use as a sweetener. There are videos that can show you how to turn it into a syrup. There's agave, that's a sweetener that comes from a cactus in Mexico that you can use as another natural sweetener. Stevia is not good. Stevia is hybrid. So I wouldn't say stevia, I wouldn't recommend stevia. I would say go with the dates, go with, you can even go with maple syrup. I think it's grade only. And the reason why grade A, because they use a chemical, formaldehyde, to keep the hole in the tree open, so it can constantly flow, and that gets into the syrup as well. So grade A if you're going to use maple syrup, and your dates, and use those sweet. Those are natural sweeteners. Are very energizing and they're very cleansing and all that.
Someone is asking about honey. Another person asked about oats. The questions were answered, but I want you to speak so that it will come on the video.
Okay, well, oats is wheat. It's made from wheat, and oats will give you bloating. Oats definitely will bloat you up. Oats definitely will cause obstruction, and it's extremely mucus forming because it's a hybrid. It's made from wheat, rolled oats or whatever you want to call it, old-fashioned oats. I used to partake of all of those, and I constantly had you know, mucus, a lot of mucus building up in my respiratory tract and all of that. And once I stopped eating those stuff, and a lot of other people can attest to it as well, oats is not good. You can go with, as I say, a lot of you can go with quinoa. You can get puff quinoa. You can get teff. These are available in a lot of herbs and a lot of supermarkets that you can use. You can use kamut, puff kamut. You can use as a cereal as well. Those you can use as cereal, and some other ones that I can definitely let Paula put up on the
page. Someone is asking about garlic, because I mean everybody's talking about garlic and it's great for this.
Garlic, that's the thing.
That,
with me, no, I don't partake of garlic. Reason being, garlic is man-made. It's a hybrid. Garlic doesn't produce a seed that will allow it to produce itself. And I know the first two speaker did mention about garlic, but I would have respectfully disagree with the use of garlic. Garlic can be used in extreme cases. I wouldn't really recommend using garlic because garlic contains a thing called oxide of allyl that can really wreak havoc on your system. Yes, it will reduce blood pressure. Yes, it will clean out plaque, but it also burns through the cell membrane. It really burns through the cell membrane and can cause a lot of issues. That's a lot of old people always say. People might hear this: if you rub garlic, a knife through garlic and cut somebody, it can never get better. So garlic is very acid. On the pH scale, garlic is like at a 3. Garlic is even worse than dairy milk. Garlic is like 3.5. Dairy milk is at a 5.6 on the potential hydrogen scale. So that is, garlic is extremely acid, very extremely acid. You can use stuff like ginger. You can use stuff like the Spanish needle, which they use to feed rabbit. That's a very, very potent antibiotic. Very, very potent antibiotic. And there are studies that's there, tried, tested, and proven that even strains of bacteria are mutated bacteria that is resistant to a lot of these antibiotics that way. None of them is resistant to Spanish needle. And that is one of the most common herbs that grows all over the place. So we have a lot of stuff here that we can use naturally, but garlic is not something that I partake of. I don't partake of garlic. Right. It's not natural. It doesn't have a seed. And once it doesn't have a seed, I don't want to partake of it any at all. All herbs must have seed, all fruits, all vegetation must have seed, because that is where they procreate, that is where they proliferate, and that is where they keep their species going, just like man. That have a seed, which is a sperm, that keeps his lineage going, that keeps the procreation going. So if it doesn't have a seed, I would not recommend you partake of it. I wouldn't partake of it. I grew up with the whole thing about garlic as well. And I haven't missed or lost anything by not partaking of garlic. And being that it doesn't have a seed to reproduce itself, I don't think you should partake of it because it's an acid. So.
Right. Okay, it's now 5:27 p.m. and I think we have had a fantastic presentation by you, Neil, and by all our other presenters. We are going to bring the panel discussion to an end. We have purposely not limited persons because there's so much information to share. But what we are going to do for sure is invite some of our panelists back. Another thing that we're probably going to do are some Instagram lives on Wellness Experience Jamaica. So what I'm going to recommend is for everyone who is present here to follow Wellness Experience Jamaica. We also ask you to follow Kushite Vegetable Cuisine. Dr. White doesn't have an Instagram page per se, but if you message him, I left his number, he will add you to his Natural Healing Foundation group, And there are a lot of valuable insights and information shared in that group. Neil, I've shared his number, so you can reach out to him as well. But we're definitely going to be having these individuals on Instagram lives. Maybe every Wednesday we do like a wellness Wednesday.
Paula?
Yes.
I'm just going to interject real quickly. Another thing that you could probably consider as something down the road, and I'm sure probably Daisy could get involved, or anybody could try. They can. A lot of people eat with once I hear about plant-based, I think it's just bush alone. You eat just bush, and that's it. We could include showing people how to prepare these foods.
Yes.
And which is very, very easy, very simple. And that will bring a lot of ease and a lot of kick away the doubts and kick away the idea that it is limited and all of that. So when you name it, you can still have ice cream, you can still have your dumpling, you can still have porridge. It's just that whatever you're going to use to do it will be natural, something natural. And when I say natural, I'm talking about made by the hand of the creator. I'm talking about something that is electric, alkaline. You can use it and you won't lose a thing. So that would be a very good thing to include in the whole package to show people how they can prepare these foods. And it's very simple. It's not hard, nothing hard. I just wanted to just put.
Absolutely, because this whole panel discussion is a very organic thing. We saw a gap, we saw a need. And so I think what we're seeing from the chat is that there is another gap in terms of preparation, creative ways. Alkaline electric food is something that you can also, that is Dacia's Instagram and Facebook page. She puts a lot of pointers there. And as you can see, Chef Kush is there. He's also available. He's been doing some cooking classes. So what we're going to do is see how we can pull everyone's information together, put it on our page so that people can reach out and get information. What we're probably going to do is try to do a one-day workshop with all of the individuals here, where you can actually speak to them in person, get to know them in person, watch live demos, and so on. So that's coming very soon. We're probably going to do it here in Kingston. We probably do it out by the Palisados or in Ocho. So just keep on watching our page. That is going to be happening within the first 2 weeks of October. So you can look out for that. All right. So with that, I have to thank everyone here for joining us today. Thank you for being here. It's been almost 3 hours. And we appreciate you sticking around. I know you stuck around because it's such valuable information. We thank Sister Tioma for her valuable insights on how to go through this thing with ease and grace and no fear. Dr. White for giving us a whole different perspective in terms of how we look at this thing called illness and disease and sickness, and how you can now take a more proactive role in determining what you put in so that you can maintain the environment that you need. And then last of all, to Neil for really showing us how we need to pull everything together to ensure that we don't run into problems. So much powerful information. This information is going to be available in another 2.5 to 3 hours. We'll put it up on our YouTube page. Now, we're very new to this, and if we seem a little scrappy, please forgive us. We think it's more important to get the information out there than to get it perfect. So we might not be perfectly choreographed yet, and our YouTube videos may not be perfect, but one thing we're sure of is that they're content rich. And I think all of our participants here this evening will agree with that. So thank you so much, Sister Tioma. Thank you, Dr. White, so much. And thank you, Neil, so much for your great presentations. Everyone will agree. And I'm looking at the chats and everyone agrees that they were fantastic. So thank you all for joining. And Please visit all the pages that I've told you, and feel free to reach out to my number, 551-1052, so I can furnish you with the contact details that you need. Have a wonderful evening, and just keep on getting healthier and healthier by learning more and more about building the immune system, detoxing, fasting, eating alkaline herbs, and eating alkaline foods. Thank you so much, everyone.
Can you repeat your number? 551?
551-1052.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a wonderful day. And I am now going to end, although I'm going to leave it for a little bit so that you guys can bid your goodbyes. Thank you very much.
Just want to say that we're all very appreciative that you could consider putting this team together and making this presentation